an article in Maclean's, they mentioned that teens are crazy. Now, hopefully I'm not offending teens by calling them crazy.
They are.
But in this article, it's really fascinating. They say there's 3 things that are up against teens making them crazy. Number 1, actually the brain, as it's forming and growing rapidly, they're trying to adjust to all these things. Number 2 are crazy culture, which is basically telling them to do destructive things, drugs, you know, alcohol.
I.e., can I do a show and tell on that one?
And Girls Gone Wild.
These are the models, okay, for some of our teens.
Right. And then third, interesting enough, what's making teens crazy are parents, which shouldn't be a surprise, but how they are and are not responding well to teens and their behavior.
I loved reading this article because I thought the author was bang on. Right. So, I mean, we've got all these stories. We were talking about Chris Brown and Rihanna.
Yes.
And
that makes me crazy.
Right.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be role models and examples for kids these days. But I love this article. It's bang on because he talked about parents dealing with their kids. The thing that they're missing, this missing link, this missing word, is the word respect. And kids know when you're talking over their head or you're talking down to them, and they know when you value their opinion and when you value what they have to say, and they also respond well when you ask them questions about their behavior. So he used the illustration of like, if you catch your kids smoking, if you find smokes in their pocket or something like that, most parents freak out.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, you know, grounded, gotta watch everything you're doing, locking you up, blah, 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 blah. And he mentioned this really great approach of take them out and say, why? Why are you doing it? Just tell me. And I thought that was great. That word respect, I think, goes such a long way.
Shireen, you worked on the streets in Toronto with teenagers. You're well aware of that culture. One of the things that resonated with me in the parental response, I mean, our parents did get very angry, did threaten and punish.
Right.
And sometimes, well, spank. We got spanked.
Yeah.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah, it didn't hurt us a bit.
For the most part, I mean, I think for that generation it worked.
Yeah,
but it's not working. But it's not working now.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I think is really important. I mean, the generation before, spanking and you know, I think he makes a point in the article that, you know, the generation before, it was about controlling your kid.
Right.
This generation, forget about trying to control your kid.
It's not
it's
happening.
Probably the most difficult generation to try to control your kid. Now what parents need to do is teach your kid how to control themselves.
Yeah,
you know, like, and he talks about what he calls priority baskets. So red for being extreme, orange for being middle ground, and yellow for being things that are not so important. So things like cleaning your room is a yellow basket thing. That's not something to...
It's a yellow basket. Can you say that to all the teens out there that are pointing at their parents going, see, I can't have a messy room.
I'm not saying that, because I couldn't have a messy room, that's for sure. But it's a yellow basket sort of thing, as in it's a middle ground thing. Whereas something like, you know, your daughter wearing provocative clothes would be a red basket thing, because that is linked to the sexualization of girls, you know?
But, you know, in that they said it's really important that parents are involved. They said, you know, if your daughter is wearing provocative clothes, Dad, go out, take her out, sit down, and explain as an ex-teenage boy what that means for him to see his daughter dressed that way.
And if not Dad, then a male
Then a male,
model.
yeah. But they said in anything, if you catch your kids with drugs, porn, cigarettes, anything, you need to sit down, talk with them in a calm, loving, respectful way, and to just understand them versus saying, "Don't do it, I told you so," or
they
because
talk about asking questions.
Right, ask questions.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Is it your friends? What is it that is making you have this bad behavior?
And some parents might think that that's being soft, you know, like going in on a soft approach. Well, you know, they want, you know, if they want to be disciplinarians or whatever, I don't think that's soft. I think that's being firm and engaging with your kids and showing them the respect that they deserve, and also saying to them, you know what, I trust that you can take care of yourself, that you can make good decisions.
And on that point, and this is one of my little pet peeves, we had chores growing up.
That was a good point.
Why? You know, I'm glad that this particular man, Dr. Michael Bradley, the expert on adolescent behavior, a psychologist, says that kids need responsibility.
Yeah, they do.
Why are we afraid to hold kids to account and Give them chores.
And see, the problem is when you don't give them responsibility, we've created a culture of entitlement.
Yep.
So now we've got kids demanding things, making their decisions because we've stolen and taken away the responsibility. So they're just like, well, then I get everything I want.
Yeah.
I'm entitled to these rights and these things.
Yeah, and another point that he makes as well is the fact that, you know, you have to let your kid fail. Do you know what I mean? Like, there has to be a certain level of failure involved in your child's life. And he talks about the fact that a lot of parents these days want to be their child's friend. I remember growing up, my mom's like, I'm not going to be your friend. You have friends at school, you know? Go play with your friends at school. I'm going to be your mother, and this is how things are going to be, right? So,
but it takes the choice of parents to be involved. I mean, it's not like you can have a kid. I mean, this is a lot what I'm learning is that you can't just have a kid and expect the child to just grow up and have great morals and values and be a great citizen. Like, you have to be involved and work through these things.
And let's face it, it takes more time to respond as this man is encouraging us to do than to say, just do what I say, I'm your father, and that's it.
Right.
Definitely.
Case closed. You're grounded for life. Whereas this is really processing with them, teaching them how to be responsible, how to establish values. There's one thing I disagree with this gentleman about, though. He says, you know, we hear so much about the first 5 years. He says we need to help them when they're teens. I think that's too late. I think tween age, 8 to 12, before the peer group rules, before all of those heavy pressures start to move in like a tidal wave, we need to be really developing that communication, that mutual trust and respect, and talking about the issues that are going to become paramount.
I think all years are important.
Yeah.
Not 1 year. I don't think 1 year is over the next, but all years are important. Engaging at all levels at all times are important.
And for all of us, whether we're parents or not, to be involved in teens' lives, whether mentors or friends and leaders, and to be really involved.